Amelia had always loved her long blonde hair. She would spend hours brushing it out in front of the mirror, watching the way the sunlight danced through the strands, turning them from gold to almost white. Her hair was her pride and joy, a feature that had always garnered compliments and a sense of identity. But lately, things hadn't been so easy. At 20 years old, Amelia was juggling a part-time job at the local cafe and college classes. Money was tight, and she hadn't been to the hairdresser in months. Her hair was starting to show it, split ends fraying, the shine dimming to a dull shimmer. Every time she looked in the mirror, she felt a pang of frustration. She wanted a fresh start, a new look, but she simply couldn't afford it. Her boyfriend, Mark, was a different story. At 23, Mark had just finished a 2-year stint in the army. He was disciplined, focused, and often more serious than Amelia liked. They had been dating for a year now, but their relationship had started to feel strained after he returned from service. Mark had changed. He was more assertive, more controlling even, and Amelia often found herself compromising to keep the peace. One evening, after a particularly long day at the cafe, Amelia slumped down onto the couch beside Mark. He looked up from his phone and gave her a quick kiss on the cheek. "You look tired," he observed. Amelia nodded. "Yeah, it was a long day. I wish I could just get a haircut, something to feel fresh, you know. But I don't have the money for it right now." Mark's eyes flickered with interest. "I could help you with that," he said, almost too quickly. Amelia's face brightened. "Really? That would be amazing, Mark. Thank you." He smiled, but there was something in his eyes that made Amelia pause. "Of course, babe. But I have a condition." Amelia's heart sank a little. "What kind of condition?" "Well," Mark began, his tone casual but firm, "I think you should try something different, something bold. You've had that long hair forever. How about shaving it off? It would be a fresh start, like you said." Amelia blinked, sure she had misheard him. "Shave it off? Mark, are you serious?" "Yeah," he said, leaning back. "It's just hair. It'll grow back. Plus, it would be such a strong look, don't you think? And think of how much time you'd save not having to deal with all that hair." Amelia felt her stomach twist into a knot. The idea of shaving her head was terrifying. She loved her hair, it was part of who she was. "I don't think I could do that," she said quietly. Mark shrugged. "Okay, well, that's my offer. Take it or leave it." She stared at him, searching his face for a hint of a joke, but he was completely serious. "Why do you want me to shave my head so badly?" she asked, her voice trembling slightly. He shrugged again, as if it were the most normal request in the world. "I just think it would look good. And like I said, it's just hair. It's not a big deal." Amelia looked down at her hands, conflicted. She desperately wanted a haircut, but shaving her head? The thought made her want to cry. Still, the allure of a fresh start was tempting, and she didn't want to fight with Mark again. Maybe he was right. Maybe it would be good for her. "Okay," she said finally, her voice barely above a whisper. "I'll do it." Mark's face lit up with a smile. "Great. Let's do it tomorrow." The next day, Amelia sat in the hairdresser's chair, her heart pounding in her chest. Mark stood beside her, a confident smile on his face. The hairdresser, a middle-aged woman with kind eyes, looked at Amelia through the mirror. "What can I do for you today?" she asked. Amelia swallowed hard, glancing at Mark in the mirror. I'd like to shave it off," she said, her voice wavering. The hairdresser raised an eyebrow, clearly surprised. "Are you sure, sweetheart? You have such beautiful hair." Amelia's eyes met Mark's in the mirror. He gave her a reassuring nod, and she forced a smile. "Yes, I'm sure." The hairdresser nodded, still looking a bit hesitant. "All right, if that's what you want." Amelia closed her eyes as the hairdresser picked up the clippers, the hum filling her ears. She felt the cool metal touch the back of her neck, and then, suddenly, there was a strange, vibrating sensation as the clippers buzzed up her scalp. She winced, tears pricking at the corners of her eyes. With each pass of the clippers, she felt more and more of her hair fall away, piling up on the floor around the chair. The weight of her hair was replaced by a strange lightness, a cool breeze brushing against her newly exposed scalp. She didn't dare open her eyes, afraid of what she might see. When the clippers finally stopped, Amelia slowly opened her eyes, blinking against the tears. She looked in the mirror and gasped. A stranger stared back at her, her head completely shaved. Her blue eyes seemed too large for her face, her features stark and unfamiliar without the frame of her hair. Mark grinned, clearly pleased. "You look amazing," he said. But Amelia didn't feel amazing. She felt vulnerable, exposed, like a part of her had been stripped away. She reached up, hesitantly touching her smooth scalp, and a sob escaped her lips. Mark's smile faded. "What's wrong?" he asked, a hint of annoyance creeping into his voice. Amelia shook her head, tears streaming down her cheeks. "I don't like it," she whispered. "I don't like it at all." Mark rolled his eyes. "Come on, Amelia, it's not that bad. It's just hair. You'll get used to it." But Amelia couldn't stop crying. She felt a deep sense of loss, as if she had lost a part of herself. She turned away from the mirror, burying her face in her hands. "I want to go home," she said, her voice muffled by her sobs. Mark sighed, clearly frustrated. "Fine, let's go." The car ride home was silent, tension hanging heavy in the air. Amelia stared out the window, her eyes red and puffy from crying. She couldn't believe what had just happened. She felt betrayed, not just by Mark, but by herself for agreeing to it. When they got back to her apartment, Amelia went straight to the bathroom, slamming the door behind her. She stared at herself in the mirror, her reflection blurry through her tears. She reached up, touching her scalp again, and another sob escaped her. She heard Mark's voice through the door, his tone irritated. "Are you going to cry all day, or are you going to get over it?" Amelia's heart twisted in her chest. She had thought Mark would be supportive, that he would comfort her, but instead he seemed annoyed, almost angry. She realized, in that moment, that he didn't care about her feelings. He had wanted her to shave her head for his own reasons, not because he thought it would make her happy. The realization hit her like a punch to the gut. She had always known that Mark could be controlling, but she had ignored the signs, convinced herself that he was just protective. But now she saw him for what he truly was, selfish, manipulative, and uncaring. Taking a deep breath, Amelia opened the bathroom door. Mark was sitting on the couch, scrolling through his phone, looking up when she emerged. "What?" he snapped, seeing the look on her face. Amelia squared her shoulders, finding a strength she didn't know she had. "I want you to leave," she said, her voice steady. Mark blinked, surprised. "What are you talking about?" "I'm done," Amelia said, her voice firm. "I'm done with you, with this relationship. You don't care about me, Mark. You just care about controlling me." Mark scoffed, standing up. "Are you serious? You're breaking up with me over a haircut?" "It's not just about the haircut," Amelia said, her eyes blazing. "It's about you not respecting me, not caring about what I want. I deserve better than that." Mark stared at her for a long moment, his expression hardening. "Fine," he said finally, his voice cold. "If that's what you want, then fine." He grabbed his jacket and stormed out, slamming the door behind him. Amelia stood there, her heart racing, tears streaming down her face. She felt a strange mix of emotions, sadness, anger, relief. She knew she had done the right thing, but it still hurt. She took a deep breath, wiping her tears away. She walked back to the bathroom, staring at herself in the mirror. Her shaved head was a stark reminder of what she had lost, but also of what she had gained. She had found her strength, her voice, and she wasn't going to let anyone take that away from her again. Over the next few days, Amelia avoided going out. She wasn't ready to face the world with her new look, wasn't ready for the questions and the stares. She spent most of her time at home, curled up on the couch with a book or watching her favorite shows. But as the days went by, something began to shift. She started to get used to the feeling of her bare scalp, the way the cool air brushed against it. She began to see herself in a new light, not as a victim, but as someone who had taken control of her own life. One afternoon, she decided to go for a walk. She pulled on a beanie to cover her head and stepped outside, breathing in the fresh air. She walked through the park, watching the children play and the dogs chase after their owners. She felt a strange sense of peace, a sense of freedom. As she walked, she passed a group of women sitting on a bench, chatting and laughing. One of them looked up as Amelia passed by, and their eyes met. The woman smiled, a warm, genuine smile, and Amelia found herself smiling back. "Hey," the woman called out. "Nice hat." Amelia laughed, her cheeks flushing. "Thanks," she said, feeling a little self-conscious. The woman stood up, walking over to her. "I'm Rachel," she said, extending a hand. "I couldn't help but notice your hat. I have one just like it." Amelia shook her hand, smiling. "I'm Amelia. Nice to meet you." Rachel gestured to the bench. "Do you want to join us? We're just having a little picnic." Amelia hesitated for a moment, then nodded. "Sure, why not?" She sat down on the bench, introducing herself to the other women. They were all around her age, friendly and welcoming. As they chatted, Amelia found herself relaxing, enjoying the company and the conversation. At some point, the topic of hair came up, and one of the women, a redhead named Sarah, turned to Amelia. "So, what's under the hat?" she asked with a playful grin. Amelia hesitated, her hand instinctively going to her beanie. She felt a wave of anxiety, but then she remembered the strength she had found, the courage that had brought her here. She took a deep breath, slowly pulling off the beanie. The women gasped, but not in a bad way. They looked at her with wide eyes, admiring. "Wow," Rachel said, her voice full of awe. "You look amazing. I wish I had the guts to do that." Amelia felt a blush rise in her cheeks. "Thanks," she said softly. "I wasn't sure about it at first, but I'm starting to like it." Sarah nodded, smiling. "You look so confident, so strong. It's really inspiring." Amelia smiled, feeling a warmth spread through her chest. For the first time since shaving her head, she felt truly happy, truly herself. As the sun began to set, the women packed up their picnic and said their goodbyes. Rachel turned to Amelia, giving her a hug. "It was so great to meet you, Amelia. We should hang out again sometime." Amelia hugged her back, smiling. "I'd like that." As she walked home, Amelia felt a lightness in her step, a sense of hope. She had lost something when she shaved her head, but she had gained so much more. She had found new friends, a new sense of confidence, a new beginning. She knew there would still be tough days ahead, days when she would miss her hair, when she would feel self-conscious or insecure. But she also knew that she was strong, that she could face whatever came her way. As she walked into her apartment, she caught a glimpse of herself in the mirror. She stopped, staring at her reflection. Her shaved head was still a shock, still something she was getting used to, but she saw something else in her reflection now: strength, courage, resilience. She smiled, feeling a sense of pride. She had faced her fears, stood up for herself, and found a new path. She was ready for whatever came next, ready to embrace her new beginning.